Hello, welcome to the Get More Trust, Success, and Fun from your couple and from your clients when you are a married business owner. Of course, this also applies to anyone else who wants to get more trust, success, and fun, but we are focusing on married business owners, female, male married business owners. The whole thing to get more trust, success, and fun from your couple and from your clients is about following a very simple 6 steps system that I'm going to present to you. In fact, it's 7 steps, but the seventh step is only for the masters who have mastered the first 6 steps. So today, let's focus on the 6 steps. The 6 steps are the ethical persuasion, communication with the other gender's brain, the money mindset, marketing, sales, and recurring customers. This is how you are going to get, this is how you are going to get more trust, success, and fun from your couple and from your clients. So let's dive into the first one, which is about ethical persuasion. There are many words that are used, like persuasion, influence, manipulation, coercion. There are many ways. Persuasion is, from my perspective, the nicest one, and when you make it ethical, it's even the best one. What is ethical persuasion? Ethical persuasion is when you drive someone to make the decision you want while they make the decision they need. To make that possible, you have to understand how the human brain makes a decision, because decisions are only made by brains, by human brains. When you say that you want a decision from a company, it's not the company that's going to make the decision. The company is just a legal structure that's around there, that's getting together in a tribe. You're going to see, we're going to talk more about tribes later, who are putting together people, and those people are the ones making the decision. So when humans make a decision, it's in fact their brain that makes a decision. And it has been scientifically demonstrated how that brain runs decisions, in fact. Up to the last, before the last, let's say 30 years, most people, and still nowadays 97, 95% of the people think that the part of the brain making the decisions is that wrinkly part. Well, you see here, that's the upper part, which is called the neocortex, which makes you the Homo sapiens sapiens, which makes you a rational being, a being that can create the world, that can change the world. But now, unfortunately, no. It was thought that every decision was made at the rational level and then acted on by the lowest part of the brain, which is called the primal brain. It has been scientifically demonstrated without any reasonable doubt that, in fact, the decision process starts in the primal brain. So you make a primal decision, and only after that, you rationalize that decision. In fact, the primal brain makes a decision in 11 seconds. That has also been scientifically measured. Think about the last time you bought yourself a nice watch, nice dress, a suit, a car, whatever, a new computer. Think about the few moments that followed the decision when you are trying to say to yourself, oh, yes, I was right to buy that watch. It makes a lot of sense. Or I needed that new computer. It's much more expensive than the previous one, but it makes sense. You are rationalizing. You are rationalizing your decision. What is the impact? The impact is that, in fact, up to now, you have been driven persuasion in a rational way. And rationally trying to persuade someone equals losing margin. Let me give you a very simple example. Let's say that you are trying to sell a drill machine. So drill machines are bought to drill holes. I'm talking here about people who buy a drill machine for a very specific purpose, not about someone who is a fetishist about a drill machine. I'm not talking about those guys. So you are selling a drill machine, and the most expensive one is the green one. And someone comes and says, I need a drill machine. So say, of course, I have that green drill machine that revs at 11,000 RPM, that comes with 3 additional batteries, each one lasting 30 minutes. And guess what? If you buy that one, I give you for free a box of drills. Isn't that great? And your client looks at you and shows the drill machine, the yellow one down there. Looks way cheaper. I'm going to take that one. You try to sell rationally the drill machine, and the only thing that you manage to do is sell a cheaper drill machine and waste your time. You were rational, you wasted resources, you lost margin. So how would you sell a drill machine when it comes to to ethical persuasion, you have to dive and talk to that part of the brain. That part of the brain is driven by something very specific, which is called the subconscious frustration. So when your client comes to buy the drill machine, you go, of course, you need a drill machine, but this is the best one. It will get you that painting that your wife, your husband wants you to get on the wall in less than 1 minute, and you will be sorted and you will be okay, and it will be peace at home. It is completely different. And of course, the person will follow your advice and get the drill machine that you are suggesting that the person gets. So I was talking about something that's called the primal brain and the subconscious frustration. The subconscious frustration is the driver of any decision. You have many subconscious frustrations in your brain. They are related to many, many areas of your life, but you have to find the ones that you need. And we're going to see when we're going to talk about the third step, the money mindset, that you have to find your own subconscious frustrations. So let's get back to our client. Let's get back to your couple, to your spouse. You want to drive a decision. You want to drive a decision in the ethical way. The subconscious frustration is one of the 4 parameters. It's in fact the first parameter of the ethical persuasion formula, which teaches you how to get an ethical decision, how to drive ethical decisions. It comes with 4 parameters. If you maximize each of those parameters, you get an ethical decision. You drive people to make the decisions you want while they make the decision they need. Isn't that great? So what's a subconscious frustration? Let's get some example. Let's go for a very interesting example. Let's use Domino's Pizza as an example. I think everyone knows Domino's Pizza, right? They decided to better understand their customers. So they wanted to understand what drives the decision of someone who buys a pizza that's delivered at home. I'm very precise here. I'm talking about the people who buy a pizza that's delivered at home. I'm not talking about people who bake the pizza at home because they have a nice Italian mama close by, or the people who go to a restaurant to eat a pizza, or people who buy a frozen pizza and heat it in their microwave oven. No, I'm talking about people who want that pizza to be delivered at home. Domino's Pizza decided to analyze the subconscious frustration of their clients. Do you have any idea what that subconscious frustration is? That subconscious frustration is called the anxiety of not knowing. Yeah, I'm not talking about mushrooms, tomato sauce, crusted, bacon crust, whatever. I'm talking about the anxiety of not knowing. When you order a pizza, you have the anxiety of not knowing when that pizza is going to arrive. So you don't know what you are going to do with your time. How much time do you have? So that's how they started with their famous USP, unique selling proposition, which was 30 minutes or free. You get the pizza for free if we don't deliver it in 30 minutes, not in 27 minutes, not in 31 minutes, in 30 minutes. And in fact, Domino's Pizza is a delivery organization. They happen to deliver one product, which is called pizza. I think there was a very interesting interview of the most important guy at Domino's Pizza is the CIO, because the whole thing is a logistics process. So do you see? That's a subconscious frustration, the anxiety of not knowing. Let's say that you are selling some software, some SaaS solution, some CRM, whatever. You are selling it to whom? You are selling it to the chief information officer, to the CIO, for example, or the guy who is in charge of the computer system of the company. That guy has specific subconscious frustration. So you have to understand that he's the decision maker. The big boss is going to sign the check, maybe, or wire the money, or agree for the money. But that guy is going to make the decision which software he or she should buy. So you have to really understand who the decision maker is and what the subconscious frustration is. Many CIOs has a frustration, has the fact that they work very late hours, that they work on weekends, and that their family life is going down the pipe. Their couple is currently dying. What would you tell them? Are you going to tell them rationally about how nice that software is, all the features of the software, how much memory it needs on the computer system, it's running in the cloud, etc., etc., etc.? Or are you going to tell that guy that, in fact, from now on, what if you could get home every day at 5 p.m. and take care of your kids and of your wife? What if you could spend longer weekends with your family? That will win the deal if the subconscious frustration is about spending more time with the family. If it's about reputation, if it's about career, subconscious frustrations are driven by this thing, which is a human brain. So subconscious frustrations are human, deeply human. It has nothing to do with your software. It has nothing to do with your product, with your service. It's all about the human being making the decision. So the ethical persuasion is the first parameter of the ethical persuasion formula. The second one, that's the good news, because let me just make some more side comment about that primal brain. That primal brain is a survival device. And guess whose survival it's interested in? Yes, it's only interested in itself. The primal brain only pays attention to itself. It doesn't care about you. So when you talk to that thing, you have to focus on it. It is super self-centered. You are self-centered. Your brain, when it makes decisions, is self-centered. When you run a persuasion exercise or you have a persuasion mission, look at how many times you are using rational arguments that try to convince yourself that you are selling the right product. You're not buying on the product. You're trying to still persuade yourself. You're not buying on your company. You're still trying to persuade yourself. You're doing that all the time, rationally. It's bad. So you're talking about yourself. So what you want now is to focus on that primal brain. So you should learn something that's called the you language. It's all about them. When you write an email, stop writing, I'm writing you this email because I wanted you to read this, la, 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 right? You are receiving this email because you are now getting this very specific information that you can read. That's just an example. You have to learn the you language because that beast is super self-centered. Now, how is that going to help the sales if you're only talking about them? At one stage, you want to talk about you. Yes, because brains are resonating with other brains. In fact, if you think about your market, 2% of your market needs you now to get that bloody subconscious frustration away from them. 38% will be persuaded by those 2% and by yourself later on because they don't have that urge to get rid of the subconscious frustration. It will come. And guess what? 2 plus 38, that's 40. That leaves us with 60%. 60% don't care, couldn't care less about you, your product, your service, your company. They are tire kickers. They are wasting your time. They are not resonating with you. And you will never find the proper subconscious frustration they have, because even if you have that subconscious frustration, there is something else that's going to make the deal never happen. Those are the second and the third parameter of the persuasion formula. The second one is, who are you? Can you answer that question? Who are you? It was very nicely presented by a French author called people who write books, called Laurent Gounel in 2018, I think, during a TEDx conference, where he asked the question, who are you? It says, first time that question was asked him, he couldn't answer. Myself, it took me 50 years to understand who I am. Who are you? If I ask you who you are, you're going to tell me I'm Thomas. Yeah. But I'm not the only Thomas on earth. There was even one guy in the Bible, one of the 12 apostles, who is called Thomas. So that doesn't make me unique. Who you are makes you unique. That's why people are resonating with you, because of that uniqueness. Because you're the only one who can help. Because that primal brain here needs contrast. It can only make decisions based on contrast. So why are you so unique? So Thomas, no, there are many guys called Thomas Trautmann. But Trautmann is my family name. It was given to me by my parents. They inherited from their parents, and so on and so forth. Here we go back to an ancestor who was for the first time called Rodman. Doesn't define who I am. I am a coach. There are many coaches, and there are so many more since COVID. I am not, I am writing books. Yeah, many people write books. So who are you? You should right now do the same process. But I will tell you who I am. I am the happy tribes builder. I'm the only one who is calling him like that. I'm the happy tribes builder because based on my past, on my life, on the events that happen in my life, I need to build tribes. I need to get people together. I need to coach them. I need to teach them. I need to have those tribes around me for many months, many years, a few hours, whatever. So who are you? That's a very good exercise. Try to do it. Not during this webinar because we don't have the time for that, but keep that in mind. That's the second parameter of the persuasion formula. Here comes the third one, which is why are you doing what you are doing? They want to know. They want to know. And look at when you are selling in real estate, for example. I'm doing some real estate. People always ask me, why is the house owner selling the house? Why do you care? You want to buy it. No one died in the house, right? Why do you care that they are divorcing, that they are leaving, that they are buying another house? People need to know why you are doing things. So why are you doing what you're doing? That was, in fact, very well put together by a guy called Simon Sinek in his book called The Golden Circle, or Start With Why, where, in fact, he demonstrated that every company that started with a why, followed by a how, and ending by a what, was a super successful company, while every company that started with what, followed by how, ending by why, never got successful, or the product never got successful. There is a very good example. Steve Jobs. You remember the former CEO, Apple CEO? Steve Jobs was tired of having to buy a whole CD to listen to music, to the piece of music he wanted to listen to. He was tired to see his daughter playing on a Walkman. Some of you may remember what a Walkman was. He was tired of watching his daughter listen through the whole cassette to get to that one piece of music she wanted to. So his why was, I want my why. I want to listen to the music I want when I want and not buy the whole thing. How did he do that? That's his how now. How? By going to see all the music majors and telling them, I'm not going to buy the whole CD for my clientele. I am going to ask you to sell me each piece of music separately. If you're not happy with that, I'm taking my millions of customers, I'm going somewhere else. So, of course, they said yes. And what did he do? He built the first music library called iTunes. And to play that, you had the iPod. So you see, you have the why, the how, the what. Did you know that at the same time, Dell had an MP3 player? Most people don't know it because what did Dell? Dell started with, what are we going to do? Oh, an MP3 player seems to work well. How? We use all our production lines to do that. Why? Because that's going to make money. No one knows that they had the MP3 player. They had zero success with that. So you see, starting with why, and Sinek demonstrates it in his book. There is no discussion about that. No discussion. Even companies who started with a why, who, because there was a change in the CEO, and the new CEO or the management team decide that no, we are no more going to do any things starting with why. We are starting now with what. We have more ideas what we're going to do. Zero success. Zero. It killed the company, in fact. Some companies that were very successful just died. So you have your why, you have your who you are, your why, and there is a fourth parameter which is called the tribe, and we're going to talk about it later. So that's ethical persuasion. Ethical persuasion is all about maximizing those four parameters. Do you remember them? The subconscious persuasion, your why, no, who you are, your why, and the tribe. So when you have all those 4 parameters, you're going to see that when it comes to marketing and sales, it's super helpful. In the meantime, there is something that you need to sort out as a married business owner. It's how are you going to communicate with your spouse? Because the thing is, it's pretty obvious when you look at a man and a woman. So a little side comment. In this webinar, we are talking about biological men and biological women with a male brain and a female brain. 21st century, many things have changed, but that's the focus on this webinar. So when you look at the female body and at the male body, you see obvious differences. Bodies are definitely not the same. Surprisingly, when you open the box and pull those things out of the brain bucket up there, in a man or in a woman, you don't see really real differences, but there are many, many differences. For example, those two hemispheres, that's one half of the brain. Okay, and there are two halves. The connection between those two hemispheres in the female brain, the thing connecting both is called the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum in the female brain is much thicker than the one in the male brain, which is supposed to get better inter-hemisphere communication. The male brain has an extremely well intra-hemisphere communication. So the communication inside one hemisphere is better in the male brain than in the female brain, and the communication between the two hemispheres is more powerful in the female brain than in the male brain, which creates a lot of mess. Yes, it creates problems with communication, for example. Vocabulary, language is not handled the same way in the male and in the female brain. The female brain, it seems, handles language speaking in the whole brain. Okay, so she uses the whole brain to talk. He uses only mostly the left hemisphere to handle language, which means that men have a way more precise language than women. It's not a quality. It's not about who is going to win. We are just not equals. We are complementary. Just for information, IQ tests show that men and women have exactly the same IQ levels, but they don't get there in the same way. That's very interesting. So language, for example, she is going to say, darling, can you fix that light bulb? Male brain says, well, of course I can fix a light bulb, and stays in the couch or stays doing what he was doing. He gets pissed because his brain thinks that she doesn't trust him. She gets pissed because he doesn't move. And that starts something very interesting in a very little part of the brain called, let me see here, called the amygdala. It's called the amygdala because it looks like an almond. The amygdala. That's your worst enemy. Oh, by the way, it's in the primal brain. Again, in the primal brain. I mean, we are making decisions and we are living like those creatures, like reptiles. But some people 15 years back were calling the primal brain the reptile brain. But it's a bit more advanced than that. But the only difference we have when it comes to decision is that these guys are ready to eat their children. We don't, even though sometimes we want to. So that amygdala somehow is the culprit for the fight-flight process. In fact, the human brain stopped evolving in between 100,000 and 50,000 years ago, while we're still living in caves. It didn't evolve since then. That means that your brain is running processes that your ancestors in the caves were already using. When you are hunting, when you are hiding behind a rock and there is a saber-toothed tiger jumping on you, you need the fight-flight process. Nowadays, when you go at war, you need the fight-flight process. When you are in a street, somewhere in a dark street, and someone attacks you to rob you, you need the fight-flight process. When your spouse talks to you, do you really need a fight-flight process? Because the problem is that fight-flight process was designed for survival. It means that it shoots adrenaline in your body so that your muscles are reacting faster. Your heart rate goes faster. Your breathing rate goes faster. Blood is pumped away from your limbs so that you bleed less in case you get hurt. Cortisol is sent into your body so that you feel pain. You feel less pain. You are a war machine. But nowadays, that war machine is triggered by a few words. And you are still alive and human. How can you handle that in your couple? Well, that's where it becomes complex, because there is a way to handle that, is to stay rational. It's to use that part of the brain. So yes, you are going to say, Thomas, what's the problem there? Why are you talking since the beginning of the webinar about primal brain, primal decisions, when we have that super intelligent device called the neocortex, the upper part of the brain, that wrinkly part that we call gray matter most of the time. Why is it called gray matter? When you pick a brain out of the bucket, you may have seen that in some movies or so, when they pull it out, it's gray, because the neocortex is gray. That here, the primal brain, it's called white matter. You know the difference? What the difference is? In your brain, you have neurons. The neurons are the fundamental elements of the brain. They're connected together. And they work, they share little elements of electricity based on how many electrons there are in some molecules that are sent from one neuron to the next one, to make it simple. I mean, like any wire, you have to insulate that wire to have the most efficient circulation of electricity, right? So the white matter is insulated. It's using something called myelin, which is something that covers the part of the neuron where everything, the information runs through as an electric signal, while the neocortex, which developed later, it developed when we became Homo erectus, when our hands left the ground, when they became more sensitive, more precise, when we had all that balance to manage. All those things created the neocortex. But it was created with a little flaw. It's great because there is no myelin, no insulation on the wires. So what does that mean? It means that the neocortex runs 200 times slower than the primal brain. So the good example is, I had this discussion one time with a friend at a horseback riding club, and he was having a lesson with the instructor, and at one stage she said something, and he started by saying, yes, but. And he said, I was conscious that when the word but came out, yes, but came out of my mouth, I was doomed. So the neocortex, 200 times slower, came to say, don't say that. Too late, it's out. And that happens a lot in your couple. When you're in an argument, you have triggered the fight-flight process. No discussion about that. Try to calm down. Try to keep it under control. That's one thing that you can do with your brain. Now, here's a little trick for you ladies, if you want. Yeah, it's a side comment, because I mean, a couple is also about intimate life, right? By the way, I made a little poll. 60% of married business owners can't even remember when was the last time they had an intimate moment. 60%. So that's why we're having this webinar, and way more later, because we need to get you out of there. So what's the little trick here? The male brain processes language in the left. I'm showing my left hemisphere. The female brain processes language all over the place. Women love to talk during sex. Men can't talk during sex because sex and language are running from this part of the brain. So we either talk or we focus on what we're doing. If you want to last longer, gentlemen, talk. Ladies, if you want him to last longer, ask him to talk more than the usual grunt that he can manage. You see, I know it's primal. I never said that we are super smart. It's primal. We're at the primal level. Decisions are driven by the primal brain, super self-centered, very fast, very stupid. So that's the communication in the couple. You have to keep control on your brain. And that works also when it comes to money, to your money mindset. Step number 3 of the system. Up here. Step number 3 of the system. You need to have your brain triggered to think positively about money. You may have the imposter syndrome. You may have the I don't want to succeed syndrome. Whatever. You have to work on your brain. I mean, culturally speaking, from your education, from your parents, from the country you are living in, from the news, whatever, yeah, money doesn't make you happy. Money doesn't grow on trees. If he has money, he is lucky. Stuff like that. You hear it all the time. Your parents, I'm for sure your parents or your grandparents, you heard something like that from your parents or grandparents, from the newspapers. Everyone is against money. Money is good. Money is fluid. It comes, it goes. Time. When time is gone, it's gone forever. Every second that's gone is gone. I'm teaching something to the people I'm coaching is that you should have a return on investment on every second of your life. If you do things that have no return on investment, you are wasting your life. You are wasting money. Time is money. It's not a bad thing. It means that the more time you get, the more money you generate. Oh, Thomas, there are only 24 hours in one day. How am I going to do that? Compress time. Compress time. You can compress time. There are techniques to do that. The webinar is too short to get in there, but you can do that. So you have to make the decision. You have to drive the decision in your own brain to be happy with money. How you do that? By the way, a decision. Isn't there something that's important to drive a decision? Yes, there is. It has been proven by a very smart guy called Antonio Damasio in 1995 that, in fact, this thing here, I'm taking the German accent to make the scientists, this thing here, the primal brain, makes decisions thanks to emotions. Many people get this wrong. They think just make them happy, they will make the decision. No, you have to create what is called an emotional variation. You take them from one stage to the next one. The easiest way is you pull them down emotionally. You take them down to what I call negative emotions, sadness, fear, whatever. And you pull them up to positive emotions, happiness, joy, motivation, whatever. How do you do that? How do I know, Thomas, how to pull them down? You have the subconscious frustration. They need to get rid of that subconscious frustration. Subconsciously, it hurts them. Talk about that and show them how great the life is going to be once that's gone. Emotional variation. Do the same with your brain. Train it to see the money. You are here, you want to get there. Wow, life is completely different. It motivates you in a very different way. It's the same thing with your spouse, by the way. So you have to work on your money mindset. So you have the ethical persuasion, you have the communication with your spouse, you have the money mindset. Now let's dive into the marketing. Marketing is not just about advertising. Many people think marketing is just the messages you are sending out. But no, it's way more than that. First of all, let's go back to our 60, 38, 2%. Those 2%, they absolutely need you to help them to get rid of that frustration. So you now know that by creating an emotional variation, you are getting them to potentially make the decision. Emotions are so important. They even help memorization. Memorization is in fact a result of the multiplication of emotion by repetitions. That's also very interesting. So, your marketing. How is that going to help you? You can just send a message out there and they're going to buy a 50,000 coaching session. No way. Never. You have to take them on a journey where they will start to know who you are. They're not going to trust you like that. Of course, if you show them their subconscious frustration, that already triggers something in their brain which says, wow, that person knows me. That primal brain is going to be happy that at least someone takes care of it. So that primal brain, super happy now. Sorry, my throat gets dry by talking. I'm so excited, or at least I love it. So you have to take them on a journey. I mean, that emotional variation can become a journey for them. You take them from one point, you drive them to the next point. What they just create? Tons of content. What are the steps they need to take from having that subconscious frustration to getting that subconscious frustration removed? It's a journey. You can write content about that, about all the steps. Look here, you are listening to something that's called the 6 steps system for married business owners to get more first success and fun from their couple and their clients. There are 6 steps. I can write on every step. I can write on the 6 steps. I can give you a journey. I can give you, there's so much. And in the middle, because I know who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing, it makes even more sense. Suddenly you have a huge set of content. Yeah, but Thomas, they're not going to buy the 50,000. No, they're not. You have to create trust. You have to bring them into your tribe. Oh, tribe. That's the 4th parameter of the ethical persuasion formula. That's also something that Dan Kennedy said. A buyer is a buyer is a buyer. You have 70% chances to sell to someone who knows you versus 5 to 20% chances to someone who never heard of you. So you create all that content. You want them to hear about you. You want to be everywhere. You want to be omnipresent. You may have seen posts from me to get to this webinar. You may have seen articles. You may have got an SMS. You may have got a phone call from me. I'm everywhere. I'm trying to be everywhere. Everyone who knows how to do that tries to be everywhere. That's called omnipresence. You should be omnipresent, being everywhere. Start from the assumption they are not going to see you, they're not going to remember you, they are not going to think about you anyway. I mean, when you register to the webinar, you get emails from me. The last day you get 3 to 4 emails from me. Usually people don't even complain because they don't see half of the emails I'm sending, but I have to send them. You have to send them. So you have to take them through that journey, but you also have to have products that help them to get there. If you want to sell something that's super expensive, they are not going to buy it just like that. They need to get through the process. So maybe you need something that you give them for free. Well, but Thomas, that's losing margin. No, that's creating something in the brain that's called reciprocity. This is one of the 6 rules of influence that Robert Cialdini wrote. It's called reciprocity. When I give you something, your brain, it's the human brain that works like that, wants to give back the same thing or even more. If I give you this webinar for free, you have more than 1 hour. You have more than 1 hour of knowledge of a 6-step system that helps you to get more trust, success, and fun from your couple and from your clients. So you say, oh, I'm giving him my email address. That's super important nowadays. It has value, privacy value. So you are ready to give me that back. That's reciprocity. When you start like that, then I can sell you my book. Then I can sell you my online training. Then I can start selling you coaching. And we go through this adventure. But if you have only one product or one product with 2 versions, you are never going to be able to survive. And the cost of acquisition of leads, I mean, that's huge. That's huge. So You have to fight against all that. And we can't go through all this during this webinar, but you have to have that. It's called a value ladder. You have to take them from the entry point up to your high-end product. At the same time, you have to tell them a story. Stories are what help the brain to get emotions and to memorize and to create trust, because you only tell stories to people you trust. That's also something that's super important that you should use. So you see, your marketing is way more than just advertising. It's the whole journey that you have through. So taking them from their subconscious frustration to the best world they will ever experience, from starting a free product to the high-end, high-level product. That's all your marketing. It's all integrated and it all circles back to the decision maker in the brain. Once you have all that marketing, now is the time to sell them. That's again a persuasion activity. You are persuading someone to buy from you. Selling is not something dirty. You have to stop thinking of a salesman being, that ugly guy that was sticking the foot in the door so that the poor lady could not close the door because he wanted to sell an insurance or a vacuum cleaner or what do I know. Selling is something that everyone should do. You are doing it. When you try to sell your spouse to go on a specific vacation, when you try to sell your spouse to go to the restaurant, when you're trying to sell your spouse to have an intimate moment, you are selling. And that's directly connected to persuasion. If you make it ethically, if you start from the subconscious frustration, your life will be completely different. You get it now? You see how all this is connected together? Why you need to start from ethical persuasion, go through communication, through money mindset, because that's how we're going to drive you to get that, to be motivated, to create that huge marketing that's going to work, that's going to make you omnipresent, that will allow you to be known so that they start to pay attention to you. And by having all that, you can also do something very interesting, is make sure that they get as much content as they need to make the decision. Because did you know that, in fact, the first contact for a potential discussion with you about making potentially the decision to buy from you happens between the 5th and the 12th contact. So I often say the 8th contact. What's the contact? Going on your website, going on your lead pages, reading your articles, having received a phone call from you or your team, having received an SMS. There are so many things possible. You need at least all that. 67% of the companies don't even do it twice. Can you imagine the battlefield with all those bodies of your competitors? And you're still running in the middle of that? To have the princess on your white horse? Sorry, I'm getting carried away. But you see, that's the value of all this. There is a reason for all that. And back to what Dan Kennedy said, a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. You can keep selling to someone who trusts you, who knows you. And guess what? Who do you trust? It's the tribe leader. You want them, fourth parameter of the ethical persuasion formula, you want them to become members of your tribe. The tribal structure is the core of the evolution of Homo sapiens sapiens, of the human species. We are a tribal species. We cannot live alone on an island. We go nuts. We go ballistic if we do that. When you create a tribe and you are the tribe leader, you can either be a tribe leader or a tribe follower. But here, in this case, you become the tribe leader and they want more from you. They are ready for way more once they are part of your tribe. Isn't that amazing? An example. Let me give an example. Everything. You do know Harley Davidson, the motorcycle brand. In Europe, average selling price of a Harley Davidson is between 15,000 to 20,000 euros. That's already a lot, right? But the average value of the accessories people are ready to buy to show they are part of the Harley tribe in Europe, in average, is 9,000 euros. They buy a motorcycle that's already costing a fortune, and they nearly pay half of what they already paid for a motorcycle. T-shirts, wristbands, bandanas, jackets, whatever, to prove that they belong to the tribe. There are even people who tattoo the Harley Davidson brand on their skin. How many of your clients have your name or your brand tattooed on their butt? Does your spouse have your name tattooed on her skin? I don't think so. Not many do that. You see, that's the power of the tribe. Apple. When Apple, let's circle back to Apple. Did you remember the time? I mean, most people who are company owners, business owners, should understand that and remember that one. When Apple decided to diversify, to divert from the competition, the headset, everyone had it black. Apple went white. And the ads for the iPod were a black silhouette with just the white headset cable. And you were belonging to the tribe of the people who were cool. That was, in fact, the subconscious frustration of that tribe. Is I want of that tribe. My subconscious frustration. I want to show that I am cool, that I am not a nerd. That was the whole thing. They even had ads running about that. So that's the power of the tribe. You have to create a tribe. And now you have everything that you need. You know the subconscious frustration. You know how to communicate, whatever the brain is. You have the right mindset to drive all that massive communication. You have your marketing ready from your value ladder, from the stories you're going to tell, because stories drive trust and memorization. And now you create a tribe, and that tribe is going to keep buying from you. And they are even going. The tribe will be at the beginning. The tribe will be built by people who come from the 2%, who absolutely need you to help them remove that subconscious frustration or subconscious frustrations, because there can be more than one. And they are becoming your white knights. They are going to help you catch the 38% that are going to build the mass of your tribe. Isn't that great? So you have the system now. Ethical persuasion with the ethical persuasion formula, the way male and female brains communicate together, the money mindset, your marketing, your sales, and the recurring business thanks to your tribe. So that's it, guys. As you have followed this webinar, I will send you an email to book a free strategy call with me so that we can assess how you stand on the value, on the 6 system steps, and then we can move forward. I thank you for your time, and I'm very happy to see you next time on the next webinar or on the phone for your strategy call. Cheers.